I'm just going to give a quick little tutorial on how to take the front bumper off of a 2009 or newer Mitsubishi Lancer Ralliart. You'd be taking the front bumper off for a number of things, whether or not you want to upgrade your intercooler and the piping, whether to fix something on the bumper itself, or even to plasti dip the bumper. It's a lot easier to plasti dip it when it's off the vehicle. It's a really easy job. There's a lot of bolts though, so you might want to mark them just in case you forget where they go. The tools you're going to need for this are going to be a flathead screwdriver, a Phillips head screwdriver, a 10mm socket, a socket extension. Alright, the first step is going to be removing this plastic panel that sits on top of your bumper. There's a couple bolts underneath that you need to get at, and it's held on by 3 pop rivets. There's going to be one here, and one here, as well as 2 little Phillips head rivets that are going to hold this in place. As you can see, mine are already off. I lost mine somewhere down the line, and I've just been too lazy to replace it. So once you get these 2 out, this will just lift, come right out of the way, and then you'll just take the 3 pop rivets out, and this whole black piece should come off. So once you got the panel off, there's going to be 4 bolts underneath there that are holding the bumper on. I'll get a light here so you can see a little bit better. Actually, there's 5 bolts. You're gonna have one right here, 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 and here, as well as one that's sitting a little bit lower, as well as your fog light plug, which will sit in right below where that last bolt is. You can unplug this after you get all the bolts removed and start taking the bumper off. I like to do it now though, just in case I forget about it and I end up breaking the cord at the same time. So we'll get those removed. Alright, next you're going to want to remove 2 screw rivets inside your wheel well, as well as a 10mm bolt. It's going to be a bolt and 2 screws on both sides. A lot of people recommend jacking up your car to remove the bumper. And yes, it does make things a lot easier, but I just don't want to waste the time jacking it up. So to get at these bolts, the easiest way to get your driver's side or your passenger side, you'll just simply turn your wheels to the driver's side and vice versa. So you may have noticed I was missing one of these screws on the other side. It's pretty normal. They're pretty cheaply made. They kind of pop out after a while. I mean, the car has about 75,000 miles on it, so I'm not too surprised I'm missing a few of them, especially with the winters we have up here in northern Minnesota. Okay, so now if you look underneath the front of your bumper, you'll see you'll have 2 more pop rivets on each side, as well as 5 10mm bolts that go along the front of the bumper. Be careful when you remove these because they will all have 2 washers underneath them, so just be sure not to lose any of the washers. Here's kind of a close-up of one of the washers underneath your bumper. Not washers, actually, but one of the 10mm bolts. As you can see, there are 2 washers on there, and the one is really tiny, so you may end up losing a couple of them. And then another thing, be careful when you're taking off these pop rivets. Over time, you can get a lot of dirt inside them, which kind of locks them up a little bit. As you can see, I kind of pried the one end of it up a little bit. It's no big deal though. They're like 50 cents each at any local hardware store. So once you have those 5 bolts and the 4 pop rivets out, if you go to the front of your car, you're going to have a 10mm bolt right there, as well as one on the other side. And these are all 10mm bolts, which is nice. You don't have to keep switching what socket you're using when you're just taking your front bumper off. So once you have those 2 bolts removed, you have all the bolts taken out, holding your bumper on. This next part is probably the scariest part about taking your bumper off. The first thing you're going to want to do is go to each side. And it's kind of hard to see, but there's a little knob there, as well as these 3 teeth. This is going to be on both sides of the bumper. So what you want to do is start on the edges by the wheel wells. You're going to want to kind of push the bumper down slightly and then gently pull out. It doesn't take a lot of force. It all depends on how much dirt you have built up in there in the teeth and whatnot. But once you have one side out, go to the other side, do the same thing, and then the bumper should pretty much freely come off. So this is what it's going to look like when you get the bumper off. Once you get the 3 or 4 teeth out on both sides, it's just going to be held on by these 2 white teeth in the front. So yeah, like I said, once you get the side ones off, you can pretty much just pull it off with one hand. It's not a big deal. But yeah, that's all there is to it for a reassembly. Just simply follow all the steps in reverse, and then just make sure you have everything lined up